Hey, I'm Ting. This is my first time blogging, so don't be mean to me. Haha. But now, I have something on my mind. Um, I know the Lord gave it to me to talk about it because I usually don't say anything. I'm always quiet, but it's basically talking about a strong foundation for our children and what it takes for them to succeed in life. When life come at when they come against life and life come at them when they're out the house and they just in the world, just living, before they get to that point, it have to be a strong foundation. Before I go any further, I want to say congratulations to my baby, Tiana. She's actually graduating this year, the end of May. Her plaque. So she's actually doing something that I didn't get a chance to do. So by me not finishing school, I decided to put my whole life being in my children to make sure they get a strong foundation. And so that's why I'm proud to say that my hard work paid off. I put myself aside to make sure my family is okay, but I really enjoy taking care of my kids. I'm not perfect, they not perfect, but me and my husband, David, hey Boost, we decided to make sure our children were strong in what they needed. Not to say that we didn't have a strong foundation, but that's not the case. Our case is to make sure that our kids moving forward from our life and living, that they have a strong foundation, not only a physical strong foundation, but a spiritually strong foundation in God. And so I just want to talk about some things that can help, and then things that we don't see as people because we're so living up in the world, caught up in the world, and things that our children need. Is very important that when they get in the world, and if they don't have it, it's going to eat them up. And what causes them not to have the foundations they have and stuff like that. So I want to start out with the definition of a foundation, which comes from the computer. All right. The definition of foundation is the lowest load bearing part of a building, typically below ground level. That means however that building start to build up, that's going to be a foundation first. So they got to put in place something that's going to hold the building. So if a storm or anything come, it won't take away the whole part of the building. It'll take away half the building, but you can take that down and build a foundation, build back around that foundation. And then God says in Matthew 7:24 and 27. The verses read, it says, the wise and foolish builders. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and put them into practice is like a wise man who builds his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the wind blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears the words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who builds his house on sand. The rain came down, and stream rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. So that's Matthew's 7:24 through 27. All right, and then I want to read another scripture, two more scriptures. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you, and that you may enjoy a long life on earth. Also, Father, do not provoke your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instructions of the Lord. One more. This is Proverbs 22:6. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. So them are like basically scriptures on how to build a foundation that I think I like. You have the physical side of foundation is showing you what it means to build a building, which is starting from the ground up, level up, making sure that the walls stay strong. Also with our family, building our family from a man or woman, and then we're having children, and then through that you building up a foundation. So it's just like you building a building. You building up the building. You also building up your children, building up the lifestyle, building up whatever that's gonna it's gonna be beneficial to your family. And that's the physical side of it, that you're building it up. Then the spiritual side is also making sure that you giving them God, you taking them to church, you having Bible study, and just put in them the wisdom and the knowledge of God. So they have two sides. So whenever things come against them in their life, they know how to balance out the physical and spiritual being of a foundation. They'll know to come back home. They know that in the midst of anything they got going on, they can, mom, dad, I got into this trouble, but my foundation was strong enough. I can shake it off and I can go back and I can start back. And you also want to make sure that the foundation that you build for your children, they can build a foundation for themselves. So whatever foundation you give your children, they're going to build on that foundation. If they are strong enough to overcome a bad foundation, that's awesome. That's blessed. That's wonderful. And they only can do it through God and through the purpose that God's put on their life. But if you have children that they don't have a strong foundation, it's going to be so much harder for them to come out of it. And we'll look at ourselves like, dang it, Lord, we didn't build a foundation strong enough for our children. It don't be the child fault. It be the parents' fault, because God give you seeds. He give you children. So it says, train up a child the way it go, and it will not flee. So whatever foundation that you give in your children, they're going to learn it. It's a learning pattern. It's a learning thing. It's like you have a newborn baby, you teach them, you feed them, you teach them how to walk, talk, and everything. So you're teaching them everything. So when they get old along the way, they begin to mimic everything you're doing. They begin to see everything you're doing. They begin to say, well, okay, wait a minute. They don't know better. If they see you smoking a cigarette or doing drugs, they see you going to church and praise the Lord, they see you working hard, they're going to pick up all of them traits that you have going on with them. So the best thing is for the parents to do is to build a foundation that a child can see that is godly and that is also right. You cannot build up a godly foundation on a wrong mindset. You cannot build up a godly foundation on an ungodly foundation. The Bible just said, like building your house on sand, it's going to go away. So we can't expect our children to see us in another light and then live in a different light. No, we have to build them up the way that we're supposed to build ourselves up. If my children see me cooking, cleaning, being a good wife, being obedient to the things that God tell me to do, I'm sure that they're going to pick up these traits they see me doing. But if they see me cussing, fighting, arguing, stealing, all of the above, they're going to follow in my footsteps. And it's our right, and it's our jobs to make sure our children don't go astray. And it's our jobs to make sure that if they do go astray, we bring them back. Not to say that they're not going to have peer pressure. They're not going to have friends that's going to tell them to do wrong things. They're not going to long for other stuff. But if we building a strong foundation for our children, it'll always stand. Especially a godly foundation. There's no way you can build a foundation without God. There's just no way. God is in the midst of everything, because we are born with God's purpose in us. So when it comes to building a foundation without God, something's going to go wrong somewhere. You should always put God in the middle of your foundation. That's not to say you're perfect. You're going to church, you're holy, then thou, whatever. You're in a religion. No. When you take God's word, which is His Bible, His wisdom and knowledge, and put it in the middle of your foundation, which is yourself, your kids, your lifestyle, things will be in order. Not to say that things are going to be perfect, no, because life comes with trials and troubles. But in the midst of that, God is the purpose, and He's the reason. He's the salvation. He's the glory. He's the corrector. So whenever we have things that happen in our life, God is always there to catch us. But we cannot be caught if we don't have a foundation built up in God. There's no way you can tell your children, you should be wrong for that. No, and your foundation that you built for them is jacked up, and they don't know what you have that you put on that. Wait, mama, you did it. You showed me this foundation. You showed me how to rob. You showed me how to break people's houses. You showed me how to, how to not find Christ. You showed me how to, just do things that's unpleasing to God. So you cannot point your fingers at your children if you didn't build a strong foundation, especially a godly foundation, something they can fall back on when they're in the toughest time, when you're not around. They're crying out for help. They should always know that God is the first, the last, and the only, and that we come second. So building a foundation is building a foundation on God. When you build your foundation on God, there's nothing that's gonna fail. Everything will come back to you. Everything will come back to your children, right? But you have to build that foundation. You have to. You cannot expect your child to be happy and you're always depressed. They see what you do. You can expect your child to be a singer and you never push them to go sing, or they don't never see you do it. So whatever you're doing for your children, it's gonna be in them. The strong foundation. If you're teaching them to be a business person, they see you with your business, they see you pushing hard and respecting people and loving people, they're gonna have the same spirit you have. They're gonna have the same foundation you have. But they see you out here fighting people, cussing out folks, just cutting people off like that, they're gonna do the same. Cause they're like, okay, this is what you showed me, so I'm gonna do it. So we have to build a strong foundation for our children. We have to, if you don't even know God, get a Bible and open it up and say, God, today, Lord, I have a problem. I need my child is going through something. Give me some words to say. Ask God for his wisdom and his knowledge to speak over your children. He will do so. So whatever we need, we have tools in life that God had given us, which is the Bible and his wisdom. Just God in general, his Holy Spirit. So whatever God gives you to manifest over your family, you're supposed to do it. Not giving them the world. Giving them the world is the worst thing to do. Give them some of it. You give your kids the physical, the spiritual, and then the mental. So you give them a little bit of the world, but you also let them know that this world and what's in this world is something that they have to adapt to, but it's not nothing they have to I would live inside of them. Inside of them should be Christ always. Outside of them should be them walking in the light that their purpose and plan that God has for them. So our purpose as mother and father and parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts is to make sure our children is built up on a strong foundation where when we see them go astray, yeah, we're going to get mad, but they know that they hear our voice and what we have taught them. They won't go astray. We won't have to worry about them because we already know that we have taught them that, okay, whatever I tell you guys, whatever what was built up here, nobody's going to tear it apart. Like again, you're not perfect. You're going to have peer pressure. You're going to have people coming against you. You're going to have things, but in the midst of that, our children need us. I seen so many kids that their parents is gone, divorce. They don't even their foundation has been broken. So by the foundation being broken, they in trouble. They locked up. They in jail. They don't even know which way to go. And where I stay at is the school. The school is so filled with so many children that's been abandoned. And they're just trying to live for themselves with no foundation and no direction. We actually set them up for failure. It's not about end of the day. It's not about us because we live our life. But whenever you birth a person into this world, you become second to that person. God is first. That person is second, and then I guess you could say you're third. You're in the midst, but your foundation is supposed to help that person succeed, that child succeed in life. Whatever that child needs from that parent, you give it to them. They need prayer. They need guidance. They need love. They need covering. You're supposed to sacrifice that for that child because God is going to judge you on how your children did at the end of the day. Not to say that you have done a good thing and then they just often just wandered off somewhere. No, if you know you did your best with your children, you pray with your children, you took them to church, you gave them a good foundation, not a bad foundation or something that they see you and they see you doing, and then when they do it, you get on them about it. You can't do that. If you give them a good foundation, they okay. And if you didn't give them a good foundation, you apologize and look, I'm sorry. What can I do now to rebuild our foundation? You know, how can I help you get to a better place in God and in life? How can I help you get to a better place? I wasn't the best parent, I failed, but hey, here I am now as this person. I'm better in myself. There's things that happen in my foundation that I wasn't aware of, the things that I struggled with that I didn't know how to put off on you. So I did not know how to do it. There are some parents that their foundation been broken, and they like the way they grew up was so wrong that they figured out, okay, this is the way I'm supposed to raise my children because I don't know no better. This is what I'm supposed to go on no better. So your foundation goes back from your ancestors on up. So when you see your mother's foundation, how they do things, and if it's not right, you're always supposed to change the way that things are being done, especially if you're in God. You cannot have a foundation, and you can't have a jacked up foundation you trying to be for God, because this two is not going to mix. Something's going to always go wrong. You can't, because God, you cannot go to God lukewarm. It's either come to him or you sit down somewhere. You cannot build a foundation for people and you're not good with God and you're not good with yourself at the end of the day. So imagine me trying to raise my children to be good and I'm being bad. Imagine me trying to tell them right and I'm doing wrong. I cannot do that. And I don't care what age I am. If I know I'm doing something wrong, I dare not to trying to tell my children, because they're not going to listen. They're going to look at me, okay, you know you doing the same thing. So how can you tell me to live a certain way and you didn't do it? So children are very smart about that. But you got to have a strong foundation. A strong foundation. Strong foundation. And if you see somebody else's child struggling, going through something, you talk to that child. Look at here. I love you. Jesus love you. What you need, I help you. Like, so put yourself aside, because sometimes God has sent other people, other kids and other people around you just to get a feel of how life's supposed to be, just to get a feel how a foundation's supposed to be. Not to say that they're not perfect, but God has people, and God has places that he set people at to help people, to guide people, especially children, because children are close to God's heart. And so whenever we build up a foundation that's not pleasing to God and not pleasing to our children, things are always going to go astray. But until we get the wisdom and knowledge from God, it's simple. It's hard, because if you got a foundation you come from and it's rough and it's cold and it's tough, and whatever you was taught from your child to a grown up, and then you try to have your family the same thing, and then if you have your family before you get yourself straightened out and self clean, the same patterns that you went through when you was a child, you're gonna have the same patterns with your children and your children's children, and that's how bonds and chains are developed. Break every chain, break every bond. That stuff is developed through bad habits. It's developed through things that we think is okay, but it's not. There is stuff that's down the line. It's hereditary. It's hereditary, but it's spiritual as well. It's just like you saying, well, I got diabetes. My mom, my grandpa, my auntie had it. Same thing with cursing, fighting, arguing. If you know that down the line your parents was a fighter and smoker and drug dealer, and you doing the same patterns, them are chains that has been put in your life. Them are bonds that have been stuck to you from generations. It's your duty as a godly person and as a person that's in general to break every cycle that's off your life, to break every chain that your parents didn't break or your grandparents didn't break. Because God has more for us. And so when we don't seek out more in Him, how we know what we are about? I know we want our children to succeed, and that's the thing. When we fail our children, we feel like, okay, God, like I failed my kids. What can I do? Your best thing to do is grab that book. If you don't read the Bible, just ask, look here, God, I messed up. Please forgive me, Lord. As one of your children, I'm your child. You all said you say we are your children, so I need to find a way to make things right with my children. I don't care what age you are, there's time to make things right. Until the breath is gone out of your body, it's time to apologize to your kids. Look, I messed up. I'm sorry. So how can I fix the situation so you can succeed in life? Because as you get older, life don't stop. Life goes on. So you need some kind of instructions to be free from the bondage that I put on your life. You need some type of instructions to be free from the hurt and pain I put on your life. So God, give me the wisdom and knowledge, Lord. Not my wisdom, not my knowledge, but your wisdom and knowledge, Lord, how to dissolve things that I put over my children, how to dissolve hurt and pain that I caused my children, how to dissolve bad habits that I made my children do. Because, like again, I say, children don't know nothing until they get older. They mimic everything you do. So if they mimicking a bad thing, it's a bad thing. If they mimicking a good thing, it's a good thing. And again, who's to say that peer pressure is not going to come? It's going to come. But when you have a foundation strong enough in your household and then with the Lord, I don't care what peer pressure going to come. They're going to be covered. They'll have a covering over them. Pray over your kids. Bless your children because they are the future of tomorrow. They have purpose like we have purpose. If our purpose is to be here to work a 9-to-5 job until we get our life right or get our business, that's that. But our children's purpose now was to just be children. So they can't be children and trying to be adults because we have failed them in some places. So they can't they can't enjoy life because they're trying to figure out how to survive on their own because we didn't teach them. So we have to put ourselves to the side for our children, to love our kids and to embrace our kids, our foundation, like give them a godly foundation in God. You know, if you can't teach them about God, sit in church with somebody else, a neighbor or something. I'm sure they'll get it somewhere. Or just tell them, okay, this is the Bible. This is what God say do. You know, just give them words of wisdom, words of knowledge on how to become better people end of the day. Because we don't need no more people up in the jail cells. Our kids getting killed. Or our females, you know, they get pregnant and they don't know how to start their life alone. They get stuck in a certain place because they think that because they have a child that their life don't go on. Yes, they still have purpose. They still have meaning. Everybody, until their life is gone from their body, has purpose and meaning. God has put us all here for a purpose. It's His purpose only. So I don't care if you're 98 to whatever. You're still breathing. God have purpose in you every day. If it's purpose just to you to walk down the street and talk to that person about Him or just talk and smile, that's your purpose. So we have to build a strong foundation for our kids. That's number one. Because God is going to judge us on how we treat our children. God is going to judge us how we love our children. God is going to judge us how they treat other people as well. He gonna say, okay, I gave you these children, so did you do the right thing by them? Did you make sure that they know about me? Did you make sure they know about life and how life is going to bring them through some ups and downs, but through my knowledge and wisdom and through your covering, dealing with me, they'll be okay. The whole purpose for us when we become parents is to cover our kids, to make sure our kids is okay. So when we don't do that, a lot of stuff that happens to them, they can miss out on their destiny, miss out on their dreams and their purpose because we are too foolish in our own ways not to humble ourselves. Like there's so many people that's with kids in prison because the foundation has been shaken and not built up. They miss out on their purpose and miss out on God's purpose for their life. They want to be a musician, a writer, a teacher, a singer, because of the foundation wasn't strong enough. They're at a place now where they're stuck. But like again, I say, until there is no breath in their body, God is still use whoever you want to use at a place wherever they're at. So if a child goes through years of getting locked up, and they feel, okay, God knows where I can go. You don't know. God be in that jail cell every day with them, ministering to them, using other people that's in prison to minister to them. You know, using His wisdom and knowledge to get them to another place in life, to tear out all the stuff that they went through their life, through their childhood and stuff like that. You never know how God used people. So people, all God people people in general has a purpose on earth, which is God's purpose. I don't know the purpose. Your mom don't know the purpose. They don't know, but God knows the purpose. So, but he also doing it before the purpose. He wants us to train up our kids and build them up on a good foundation, not a perfect foundation, because no foundation is perfect. I don't care how much money you got, what degrees you have. There's no perfect foundation, but through God. So whatever foundation you build your children up, that's the way they're going to come. So parents, love your children. Give them a stronger foundation. I don't care what age you at. If y'all not getting along, if your parents hurt you, just let them know they hurt you in a good, godly manner way. Begin to dissolve the chains and the bonds that has been placed over your family life. Try to break them out, because our children are important. They mean the world to us, so they should mean the world to the world. They should mean the world to God. So making sure they're in a good place with God, in a good place with themselves. Because they're not in a good place with God themselves, they'll keep living in the same thing that has caused them to be where they are. So just make sure you build up a foundation that won't be blown away through trouble. Won't be blown away through won't be blown away through things that's happening of the world. So just make sure your foundation is built with your children. So whatever they come against, it won't knock them down. They'll get up and they'll keep going. They'll fall for a little bit, but they get up and keep going. Make sure their foundation is strong enough where they can, like, if any storm come, any trouble come, they'll know how to stand strong and fight it. They won't give in to the devil's temptation. They won't give in to things of this world. Making sure your children is safe with you. Making sure your children have a foundation. Like, again, I say, not perfect at all, because no kids are perfect. My kids ain't perfect. They got their own issues, but my main thing is my husband makes sure that they have a foundation. Even if you're a working parent, you can still make sure your child has foundation. You can still make sure the days that you're off, you're loving them, you're showing them right from wrong, you're telling them, no, don't do that. You are a walking example for your kids. So you're teaching, you teaching your children, don't even know it. So while you sitting there doing things, they're watching you. So you're literally teaching your kids and you're not knowing. So everything that you're doing, they're going to mimic and they're going to see and they're going to put it out there towards the world. And some people are going to like it and some people are not. So that's why it's always important that you build a foundation in your household first for your kids. Making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. Not doing stuff that's not pleasing to yourself, not pleasing to God, and not pleasing to your child, because they're going to mimic everything we do. It really is. They're going to mimic. They're really going to mimic. And so when you feel your foundation is being shaky, you find God and you build that foundation right back up. It's never too late until God take your breath away. You can build that foundation. You can have a stronger foundation in God and stronger foundation in your family. If you can start from scratch. You can start right now with your foundation, with your children. I don't care how old they are. But just build your foundation with your children. Build a strong foundation with them, because at the end of the day, they what matter. And they the next generation for this earth. You want them prepared. You don't want them to go out in the world, just suck them up. And they don't know what's going on. And they don't know because they didn't have a foundation of the world and have a foundation of home and have a foundation in God. They be lost, So you need to give your children a foundation in God, give them a foundation in the world, and give them a foundation in home. So they know home, the world, and God is the main place they're gonna have to use a lot of stuff in. When their home is comfort, when their home is peace and is quiet. And the world is another whole different thing. They fighting to survive. They fighting to live. And so you need to teach them about living in the going towards the world, and everything they need to be taught at home supposed to be out and put out to the world. So whatever you're teaching your children, definitely at home, they take it to the world. With the Bible, and teaching about God, they take it out to the world. They take whatever instructions that God give you for your children, they take it and they take it out in the world, and they have to walk upon whatever God say do. They walking in your words, they're walking in God's word, and they're walking against warfare. They're walking against the devil's tricks, the devil's practices against anything. They're walking against unclean spirits. They're walking against the airways that's in the air, whatever they hear. Like everything they hear, everything they see, and everything they do is going to be in here. So that's why God said build up a good foundation for your children. So when you have your foundation, can't nothing get in there. You know, it might can sneak in there, but oh, wait a minute, that's not right. Okay, I was raised differently. You know, God told me differently. You know, it's not about the world, so let me go ahead and get my foundation back on point. You know, let me go ahead and, you know, walk this path and not go that way. You know, let me make sure that my foundation is straight so I can begin to walk out my foundation for my children. So we want to make sure we're making a good foundation from our house to their grandkids' house and on up. Making sure they got a good foundation where they can be okay with the lifestyle that they put out for their children's children. Making sure that whatever bond and whatever chains are here, they can break it. And so things will be okay with them. I don't care if it's a spiritual bond, physical bond, mental bond, or spiritually bond. They can all, if they are walking in a strong foundation and things are not implanted in them that's going to tear them apart, they're going to be okay. But parents, please, please, please love on your children. Don't be perfect, because we not perfect parents. We don't get everything right, but we know that through God foundation, our home foundation, that they'll be okay. Just let's implant in our children positive stuff that they can look back and they can thank us on. They can look back and say, okay, Mom, Dad, you know, you did an awesome job. They can say, Mom, Dad, thank you for pushing me through. Thank you for, you know, spank. Thank you for all the positive stuff you put in my life. You know, make sure they don't have any regrets. Make sure they're not somewhere, you know, stuck where they can't, you know, seek out and cry out to God. Let's just make sure that our family and our children is safe, because this world is not teaching our kids. The world is just draining, it's taking our children, it's pulling and sucking them in. And so the foundation begins at home. And if your child ain't got no foundation at home, a good foundation at home, they're going to be sucked into this world. They're going to be sucked in where they can't find a way out. So please, 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 let's cover our kids in love. Let's cover our kids in grace. Cover our kids in mercy and forgiveness. And cover our kids in the Lord. You know, everything that God wants us to do. There's so many Bible verses in the book. If you can't read, go on the internet. Like, Lord, what I said to my child. So he'll give you instructions how to raise your child, you know, to take care of your kids whenever you know you cannot do it. You know, if there's not, and then he also is seeing people that'll pray over your children and protect your children if you know you can't really do it. So I just thank God for a foundation that I have built for my kids. No, I'm not perfect. Yes, I have sacrificed some things to make sure my children is okay. My husband has too. But in the midst of it, God get all the glory and God get all the praise, because he knows that we have built the foundation here for our kids. We nowhere near perfect. We just like everybody who make mistakes and everything, but our foundation